Jupiter in Taurus, conjunct Uranus in Taurus, is finally here. Let's talk about it. You may have heard other astrologers talking about the fact that this year's biggest transit, I do it like that because arguably the biggest transit, you may feel differently if you don't have planets or points in the sign of Taurus or in the fixed signs. You might feel like this one's really not that much of a bigger deal. You may find that perhaps the Mars retrograde in Leo at the end of the year, going back into the sign of Cancer and then back forwards into the sign of Leo might have more an input for you, or that Jupiter moving into Gemini in May is even more expansive for you and more of an activator. It just depends, because Gemini is a mutable air sign. So if you've got lots of air or lots of mutable planets, mutable zodiac signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius and Pisces, 4 not 5, then that transit may feel much bigger for you. But yes, Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus is the next one. It's coming up this weekend. It's on the 20th or the 21st, depending on your time zone. And what's it bringing? Well, Jupiter is expansion, optimism, teachers in our life, and it's exuberance and possibly overdoing things and being too jovial and too optimistic about things. But it's the best thing I think about Jupiter is that it brings these opportunities into our life that we were otherwise unexpected. And we just seem to have more help around where Jupiter is transiting in the sky right now. So in this example, Jupiter is transiting in the sky in Taurus. It has been for roughly the last year. And at this very end point of Jupiter in Taurus, because the conjunction's happening at about 21 degrees of Taurus, we are seeing this erratic surprise energy of Uranus, the higher mind, the higher octave, of Mercury is what some modern psychological astrologers may say. In Hellenistic astrology, there is no such thing as like higher octave, lower octave. But I like to do a blend still, because I still see the symbolism of the idea of Uranus being the higher octave of Mercury, because Uranus is these sort of divine insights that you don't know where they come from, and they're not kind of based in the facts of a standard kind of Mercury way of learning and understanding the world around us. They are based in this idea of some sort of information coming in from somewhere else. It's literally not a fact written down on the page in front of you. It's like I looked up at the sky and had this sudden moment of inspiration where I realised how to do something. And a way of kind of problem solving on a much kind of more vast, expansive level than Mercury, which, as we know, is still retrograde at the moment, so still having a bit of a tricky time, and it's in the sign of Aries. So we are sort of scrabbling around potentially with how to communicate from a place of passion and creativity, as opposed to the more shadow side of Aries, which is going to be, grumpiness, acting from a place of defensive warrior energy instead of allowing a kind of creative insight to come along. And because it's Mercury retrograde, we are learning new ways to communicate without jumping the gun, without jumping to conclusions, without just feeling really angry at everybody around us. I laugh like this because that is absolutely my shadow experience of this Mercury retrograde, is feeling so grumpy at people and just really quick to anger and trying really hard to avoid confrontation, but not always avoiding confrontation. And so this is a kind of, Mercury retrograde in Aries situation. Uranus in Taurus, it offers us some information around stability and our personal resources, because it's Taurus and we think of the fixed earth, which is like the solid, excuse me, the solid world around us and how it supports us. And if you look to see which birth chart house, I work in whole signs, but it's entirely up to you how you look at this. But from a whole sign perspective, look to see which whole sign house in your birth chart is governed by Taurus. And for bonus points, look to see where your natal Venus is also active. If you've got Taurus ruling your fourth house, and you've also got a Venus in Taurus in that fourth house, then this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction may feel more powerful for you, because when you've got a planet in the sign of Taurus, this offers a karmic experience in this lifetime of that particular planet in that particular zodiac sign. And that's really what the planets in our birth chart mean, is that most people have, bunches of different zodiac signs around the birth chart. And it means that for most people, specific life areas or the birth chart houses that each zodiac sign rules. So for example, in this case, Taurus, say Taurus is ruling your fourth house, then and you've got a bunch of planets in Taurus, then it means that Taurus things will be a big experience for you in your lifetime, but also fourth house things will be a big experience for you in your lifetime. So like home, family, roots, tribe, living environment, like the bricks and mortar around you, or the tin around you, or the straw and clay around you, the environment that makes up your house. Which can look so variable these days. If you've got Sagittarius ruling your fourth house, it's much more likely that you live in a camper van and you travel the world because you like to keep your living environment mutable, like the sign of Sagittarius, and changeable so that it can travel around with you. Whereas having a Taurus fourth house is much more signifying of having a stable home base, and that feeling very important to your sense of comfort and grounding and security that has perhaps gone back through your ancestral lineage as well. I often think about people that live and work on farms when we think about Taurus in the fourth house, because it's that very natural expression of Taurus, being in nature, being with the earth, being with the animals. But it's fixed as well. So we're thinking about, a family farm that has been handed down through generations, so that we kind of know and trust and rely and depend upon the earth around us. Very Taurus thing is like, some Taurus phrases are kind of like, I own, I possess, I feel. And so wherever Taurus rules in your birth chart, whichever house it rules, this is the part of your life where you feel like you need to possess and hold on to something and not let it go for dear life, which can sometimes be an issue, especially when Jupiter and Uranus come along and say, like, actually, you are going to have to let go a little bit. And just as I've said this, I've just had a Uranus moment here of thinking about my youngest son, who's 3, settling into nursery and having some care received from someone other than myself or my family. And where am I having to let go a little bit? It's actually in my 11th house. So that's communities and friends and kind of personal champions, personal cheerleaders. And in the 11th house, it's kind of asking me to have more trust in the idea that other people have got my back. I can trust other people who are, it's their job, it's their work, it's their vocation to look after other people's children and keep them safe. But there's a big part of me that feels really fearful about letting other people look after my children, because I'm just like, oh my God, it's just this. I've got Scorpio ruling my 5th house, right? My 5th house of children. So I feel very intensely and deeply. I've got Pluto, Mars and Saturn there as well. So I'm a bit fearful around just over catastrophizing. I catastrophize everything, I'm panic about everything, like, are they going to be okay? Even to the point that in the middle of the night it's like, are they going to fall down the stairs, like, if I'm not there, and just silly things like that. And I think Jupiter and Uranus is coming along in my 11th house of community to say that it's okay to trust and it's okay to let go, because your children will come back. The reason that this is more kind of significant, the way that I've kind of explaining this in a roundabout kind of a way, and maybe you've stopped listening already, so that's fine. But my 3-year-old that's starting nursery, he's got a moon in Taurus, and his moon in Taurus is at 21 degrees, where this exact Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is taking place, which makes me feel a little bit panicky. It's like astrological, panic disorder. Like sometimes, I think it happens to us all at various points. And I don't think that is the role of astrology, to make us panic. And yet here I am. So I just want to be honest and upfront and say the moon rules the mother. So my son's relationship with me, but it also brings kind of what's our sense of stability and comfort. So with a moon in Taurus, it's a bit like having that Taurus ruled fourth house. It's very connected to, I like my solid, reliable routines. I don't want things to change. I don't want this sudden separation from my mother, as my son might be experiencing right now. And Uranus is very quick and kind of blindsides you. So as much as I've been talking with him about the fact that this has been coming up and this is going to be happening, not the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, let me say, but the fact that he's starting nursery and the fact that it aligns so exactly in his birth chart to his natal moon sign in Taurus, it just feels absolutely relevant. And then so okay, I look to see his moon is in my 11th house, which might mean that I feel like we're friends, and this could be something that develops in the future as well, that we could be friends, like mother and son, but also friends, because his sense of comfort is in my house of community and friendship. My house of community and friendship is with his moon, so kind of makes sense both ways. So at some point I'd really like to do some horoscopes on this. Whether or not time allows, who knows? Possibly it won't happen. But I just always like you to know that it's my intention to share those things, as much as sometimes it's not always possible. Originally I had planned to start my astrology group on the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction coming up this Saturday. But I feel like if I put anything extra in at the moment, and I also kind of moved over to the idea of the one-to-one tutoring, astrology tutoring, which is very much up and running and available for you to join a waiting list. The waiting list shouldn't last too long, kind of 4 to 6 weeks until we can get started. But yeah, if you want to begin or continue your astrological education, then please get in touch, send me a message, send me an email, midheavenmoonrise@gmail.com, or just send me a message on Instagram at Freya_astrology. I was going to start this group, and there's an opportunity that I may go live on the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, because that just feels kind of exciting and a little bit, I'm not sure if I'll be able to make it happen or not. So that's quite Uranus. I might suddenly find that I've got time to myself on the day of the conjunction, where I can, dive in and share some insights and see how you're all doing with it as well, because I would love to hear back from you. That's the best thing about astrology, is hearing people's stories. And my favorite thing about astrology, I think, is that it's like a storytelling device, is a storytelling kind of antagonist. It can take us back through the journey of our lives as we reflect back on previous transits, and as we're anticipating upcoming transits as well. It's all about weaving the rug of life, traversing the different islands of our lives, the different stages of life, and kind of unpacking the narrative that lies in the pure potential of our birth charts. That's what gets me really excited. So hopefully that's a little bit of information on the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. If I do go live, or if I share a small webinar, for example, then I will let you all know on here and keep you posted. In the meantime, have a great week, and I'll see you all soon.